Hi everybody, welcome back. Another fantabulous World of Tanks ANZPL interview. Today I am joined with the big energy there from Dongerlord from Adelaide Action X. How you going, Donger?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. How about yourself?
Oh, not too bad. Just almost blown away by the weather today, but we'll get past that. It's been an interesting day in Perth. I'll give you that. But we're not here to talk about weather. We're here to talk about World of Tanks ANZPL Season 5. Can't believe we're at Season 5 already.
Yeah, it's been a long journey, but a
Mm.
good one at that.
That's it. You've been playing since the beginning, I think, haven't you?
I came in season two, so I missed out on season one.
Still, that's 2 years to be playing. That's a good stretch.
Yes, a lovely
Yeah,
stretch.
yeah. Um, but yeah, it's been an interesting time for tanks at the moment as well because you've got the new patch that's come in. We're seeing few new tanks coming in as well. So the Minotauro made an appearance last week, and I'm going to have to read this off my notes because there's too many letters and numbers in it. But the AMX M454 as well
Yeah.
made a bit of an appearance last week as well. Do you think we'll see a lot more of those? Because I kind of remember when the VZ55s came into the lineup and they were around for a bit, but you don't really see them so much anymore.
I think the M4 is going to be a fairly strong statement piece at the moment. The way the tank's been buffed, it's a very nice middle ground between an S-Conk and E100. So it kind of bridges a gap that wasn't really there, but the Minotauro, I'm I can't really see it fitting too much into the meta as much as M4 is, especially because it's so slow after it did get nerfed. But I think on maps like Muravanka, where you're having to be forced to push into a very difficult, usually defense to break, that tank will shine very heavily. And I think we could probably see it more heavily used there. Maybe one, definitely, but two, depending on how well teams are wanting to stretch on it.
It's an interesting thing as well because normally you see more the heavy tanks or the light tanks, maybe one or two light tanks at most, just to do that bit of scouting on some of the bigger maps. You don't normally see a tank destroyer come out.
Yeah.
It,
I mean, it's the way the meta is. The meta changes and develops each year. I mean, PL has gone, it's changed so much since season one and season two, come to where we are now. But even light tanks we're moving away from, we're moving more towards camo up bat chats, which can do a very similar role to a light tank, but have a much more effective combat capacity.
Mhm. Exciting times. Yeah, you're not going to see too many manticores out there these days.
Unfortunately, not.
Oh, a bit of a fan, are we?
Oh, Action X, we always love to bring out the light tanks occasionally and,
Yeah.
use some cheeky new bushes.
I think was it CJ's a particular fan of the manticore? I think I remember him bringing that out a few times.
CJ is a big fan of the Manticore and the T100 and
Yeah,
finding some interesting bushes.
yeah. Just up that camo rating and just sort of stay there, see what happens. Um,
Yes.
but it's interesting that you mentioned the meta because I've been watching the Matildas a little bit, who were your opponents on last Friday night, and like they were the conquerors last year, but last season, but they had picked up, I think, was it three of the ex Matildas players who were part of the championship team that won season three, and this year as well, you guys traded Saxon to them and got tracks in return, and I find it interesting watching their game style, being that they've really got that rolling in numbers. I think as Cthulhu said on the cast, it was ape strong together. Because if you can pick somebody off, it can work. But those strats that were working for the Matildas in the lead up to the season three championship that they won don't seem to be going as well for them in season five.
I think that's a two-folded answer there. I think the way the meta is at the moment with the map pool has allowed it so that it's more not as much just pushing with five DPM tanks. It's now more kind of working these small engagements with alpha tanks instead, especially with the M40 100 being 500 damage. But I also look at the old Matilda's roster versus now, and obviously you're missing Bales and you're missing Bolognese, and I think those are two very big players and key players for that team that really made it work really well. And I think that's what is maybe hindering them a bit. And I think maybe there's a bit of hesitation happening on calls.
I've got to say, as a Panthers fan, I'm very happy that we picked up Bales and Madhouse. Those were two very big names that come into the Panthers roster. But I think we talked about other teams enough just now. Let's have a chat about the Action X. And you guys are going pretty well this season. 3 rounds in, you've had two outright wins and 1 outright loss. The loss came against the Scorpions, which, let's face it, they're a hard team. They've been up there for so long and runners up in the grand final last season. But I think the big win for you guys was beating the Sentinels. How did that feel like? Because that you got to not be scared, but be extremely wary of them.
Oh, definitely. They're a very, very strong team. They've got a very strong starting 5 roster, which they bring most weeks, and
Well,
they're very competent. You can't have to show them respect every time you verse them.
Yeah,
Um,
I think there's quite often some things about the roster, and particularly early in the seasons, generally you can catch the Sentinels unaware because they don't bring their A grade roster, like their best starting 5. But I feel like when you beat them, they did, and you just matched them with great strats and great calling.
yeah, I think the team we have this season is a very strong team. I mean, we have speed and tracks who are very good additions there. It's allowing me to more sit back into the auto leader role than having to help focus on strats, so I can kind of be a bit more effective in the game because I now have tracks and speed just to replace what I was trying to fill in for CJ.
Mm-hmm. How's Gloucester fitting into the lineup coming up from the B League there?
Glosser's fitting in quite well. Like I mean, obviously there's not as much experience in the 5v5 format as the rest of the team, but he's finding his feet. He's not new to competitive in general, and we've all played with him in other formats of competitive. So it's really more just getting up to scratch and just finding his feet, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's got can be developed into being quite a good player for you guys. So I think he was a good pickup in the draft. But let's have a bit of a chat about your one of the matches that you had on Friday night. So we're going to talk about the last round on Ghost Town here. So this was your map pick, and once it, like we're saying, I kind of find it interesting with the Matildas because they did do the grouping up. They've come in and grouped up here, where you guys have done the more sort of traditional scouting thing. You sent a super conch down the 2 line. You've got the 50B back at A4 to keep an eye out there, and the IS7 to look down like the 8-9 line. Was that your plan to start with? Just get that vision through scouting and see what you could see?
Yes, our plan was just to kind of just play it slow, sit in a very linear setup so we can all everywhere is able to support each other. Uh, and just kind of eliminate areas. It's always just a process of elimination of figuring out, all right, they're not here, they're not there, and we can start, moving around the map and rotating to where we think they might end up.
That's it. And with the vision you had, you could quite clearly see down if they were making a push down the eastern flank there to maybe the 1 flag, which you don't often see, but sometimes you do see it, and like the super conch as well, seeing if there's anything maybe coming in around the back here to provide support for the 2 flag push. But eventually the Matildas did push onto the 2 flag and put the 2 IS4s right here, and you guys were coming around, but I'm not quite sure what the play was from the Matildas, but Joe Atora here decided to push off. And looking back at the footage, he didn't have vision on your 2 tanks here, the E100 and the IS7. But he knew that the IS4 was there. So I don't know. I'm wondering if maybe he thought that was alone, and maybe there was a half call to push onto. I think it was Val there. But really, what were you guys thinking when you saw him push out on his own, and all of a sudden you're going, "Ooh, free farming"?
Yeah, it was a bit weird because obviously Val was spotted and I had been spotted coming into town, and it was seen that I was coming towards the corner of D6 here just to kind of help get resources for the cat when need be. But pushing up, I mean, I can't know. I wasn't in their comms, but to me, it's just a miscommunication. It can just be as simple as someone saying, maybe we do this, and maybe their mic cuts out or you don't hear the maybe it's like so it's just we do this.
Mm.
But I think that play wasn't to counter Val. I think it was more to counter Speed because I believe Speed had rotated down into it was somewhere down to here from one line, and
Mm.
he was kind of caught in a crossfire between a 50B and I think it was an E100 here. So
Yeah,
they were more looking just to pick the S-Con.
because at the time I think Val and the S-Conch were lit up, and their 50B was rotating around because I think the 50B was the one that got most of the damage into the S-Conch there. Um, but then as the game progressed, after one of the IS4s, you got rid of that, and you had Dark sitting here on the cap. Look, it was always going to be harder getting rid of that with one tank, and then your S-Conch was low on health by this point. But really, that's one of the beauties about being on defense, isn't it? Is that you sort of sit back a bit, and all you have to do, especially when they've only got one on the cap, is drive out and put a shot in, and then drive back out. Doesn't even have to do a lot of damage. You can load that HE ammo and just make sure you pen.
Yeah. I mean, we traded out one S-Conch for one IS4, and I think that's a good trade because we still make it a 4v4. And I think we also got some bleed, also some other tanks like Dark, and I believe Whipper took some bleed as well. So overall, it's fairly favorable for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and really at this point, because at some point Dark has driven off as well, and gotten eliminated, so it's down to a 3-on-4, and really by that point, it was your game. You were in control here, and as soon as the 50B went down, I think you were in the Adelaide Action X 50B. I think.
Yes.
Yeah. So you took down the other 50B, and then I think it was the S-Conch that went down, and once that happened, all four of you just converged on the E100 and got the win and won the series as well. So. I feel it's like an interesting point. I know we're only 3 rounds into the series, but we've already got a 4-way tie for first. It's a pretty tight competition. Like, who do you guys see as being the major threats at the moment?
I think the major threats, I think going to this week, Panthers, obviously with the addition of Bales and Madhouse, we don't exactly know what to expect from that roster. Bales is a very competent batch player, so I'm sure he will give myself will probably be in a batch row 50B a very good run for my money if we do have to encounter each other. But outside of Panthers, I still think it's going to be Scorpions and Sentinels, even though we've beaten Sentinels. We still have to show them the respect they deserve. They've won Premier Leagues 3 times.
Yeah. 3 out of the 4 championships are gone to the Sentinels. You can't count them out, and their lineup has pretty much stayed the same, which is amazing when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean Scorpions as well. Both those 2 rosters not really changing. I think that does speak to how well they do their drafts. I mean, they managed to get very good teams early on in the season. I think that did give them an advantage over the others, but I think now with Panthers and obviously Adelaide Action X, I think between us 4 there, we've got some very strong rosters. But that's not to say that Matilda's and Comets rosters aren't a slouch over. I think there's maybe just some few holes in terms of gaps of players.
I think it's quite exciting watching the Comets play because they bring some different strats. Like I feel like there's sort of accepted strats in the PEL, but like they do things a little bit differently. Like there was an attack on Muravanka where they sort of drove a couple of tanks down a little bit further along, I think, the 0 line than you probably normally would, but it gave them a little bit more protection as well at the same time. And even the first game on Himmelsdorf, where they were only playing with 4 tanks, they just put them all in the one corner, and that came very close to working out for them. If they'd managed to get just focus fire a little bit better, that could have been an interesting match, winning against the Scorpions with only 4 tanks.
Yeah, I mean, I think having Comets up into the league is good because at the end of the day, it's a new eyes from a different caller. So Power obviously bringing a fresh set of eyes, new ideas. Who knows what could come from that? There could be a new meta development. There could be new strats. There could be a new position discovered. You never know what team is going to be able to do that. But I think that Himmelsdorf one where there was a 4 and 5. I think for me that highlights that even though like Scorpions may be walking in thinking it's going to be a very easy win. You still have to show teams a certain level of respect going into games because, like Matildas as well, they can just take games away from you, and then one game can turn to two, two can turn to three, and then at that stage you've lost the series.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You still got to show respect and focus on your game, because all it takes is one little mistake and you can come undone. Or just look at I think it was the on Muravanka as well, the game the Comets won where they capped out. Well, I don't think anybody was really thinking they would cap out, and by the time I think it was the Matildas had rotated to try and get the shots in, it was too late.
Yeah, I think. I mean, you never really expect a bird cap to work because
No.
it's something that everyone expects to be happening. But again, you're right. Like they weren't ready for it. They didn't think Comets would do something that ballsy, but they did.
Yeah. One thing I'm always interested to see is the new maps that come in to the ANZPL as well. Have you guys been scrimming the Siegfried line very much at the moment?
Yeah, of course, it's a new map. Obviously, we're going to put a lot of attention into it, going to study it and figure out what is viable, what isn't, more than the other maps, because obviously Ghost Town, Proc, all these other maps we've played for 4 or 5 seasons now, so we have a fairly good understanding of. But Siegfried's it's good to have change.
Yeah. It's even interesting to watch over the last few weeks of the PL happening, and how like the defenders used to come all the way south through the town and try and hold the attackers at the south, but now they seem to be sort of more holding back to the north of the town and letting the attackers come through, because you've got those good cover and good firing angles. If the attackers drive through the city, all of a sudden there's 3 tanks shooting at them. And it's interesting that the strats have come that far already.
Yeah, it's just a lot of trial and error. Obviously, I think coming in, we thought field was everyone was just going to play field. It's going to be field central, bash hats, everything. But obviously, teams are more wanting to lean off those M4s now. So obviously, we've had to adjust to what people are starting to bring. Look at what Matildas are doing. That's what we looked at prior to going in. Study, make a baseline, and then go from there. But even then, the way the map is, there's just so many corridors, so many different little angles that you can play that can just make what seems to be a push viable. One tank can change that in just an S-Conk sitting on a ridge.
Well, round 4 of season 5 this Friday night sees you taking on the Panthers. We already spoke a little bit about how the pickup of Madhouse and Bales has really, it's added an extra dimension to their lineup, and really even before that with JS and Twit. I'm sad to see Lightning Man go, but obviously players move on like that. But then you've got Goober still, and God Mode comes in to pitch hit. They're no slouch lineup. And any I always want to ask, you got any sort of, what are you going to do them? But you don't want to tell us that, because then Panthers might watch and find out your strats. But is there any one play that if you could isolate and remove from a game early that you would take in a heartbeat, even if it was like a 1-for-1 trade?
I mean, it depends on the map. That's a very situational question. I don't think it's down to a certain player. I think it's going to be more down to a certain position. That's why I look into it. I don't look into who is playing. I look into just what the lineup is. If I start looking at who's playing, my mind's elsewhere. I think the team is on that same general area that I am. So it's more about picking positions and making the right picks and bleed over trying to just take out a certain player.
More about the tactics of the game than trying to just highlight one particular person.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Well, Dongerlord, thank you so much for having a chat with me. I've really appreciated you making some time to come and chat, and good luck on Friday night.
Beautiful. Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much, Dongerlord, for popping in for that interview. It was great talking to you, and especially with how well Adelaide Action X have been doing at the moment. Can you believe they knocked off the Sentinels? Like, they're reigning 3-time champions, and they knocked them off.
Yeah, let's go Adelaide. Woo!
It's
It's pretty exciting with the new lineup on their team. They're certainly performing better than last season.
that's it. I think the trade that they did, well, it's definitely worked out well for them, because trading Saxon to what is now the Matildas and getting Tracks back. Yeah, the Matildas haven't been going so well, but yeah, they've stepped up the pace there, and especially Speed as well coming back. Like, he is a top-notch player, and cannot wait to see how they go on through the season. So yeah, let's have a chat about the results for last Friday's ANZPL there. So you can see Adelaide Action X beat the Matildas 3-1. Perth Panthers took on the Comets, beat them 3-1.
We both had a winning week.
We did,
yes.
we did. And then the Sydney Derby, the replay of last year's grand final, the Sentinels defeated the Scorpions 3-1 there as well, which makes for a very interesting ladder at the moment, because looking at it, we've got 4 teams both on 2 outright wins and 1 loss. So yeah, not even like tiebreaker wins or losses in there, just flat out 2 wins, 1 loss.
Yeah, I'm trying. Oh, okay. I was trying to work out, like, I saw the tiebreaker win and loss, but that's Cairns and Melbourne against each other. That makes sense.
yeah, that's it. That was the first round where Cairns beat the Matildas to get that tiebreaker win there, which was look. We mentioned it to Dongerlord, but I'm really liking the inclusion of the Comets in there, because you're seeing some different strats. Like, with a lot of the maps, it's quite not bogged down, but there's established strats that work and what people expect. But with the Comets coming in, there's some new strats coming out. Even with the Siegfried line with the new map, it's interesting to watch those maps and see them evolve.
Yeah, that's cool that they're throwing a few different strategies in the mix, keeping it fresh.
That's it. So let's have a chat about fantasy. Like, so I forgot to put in my my fantasy team last week, Natty.
So did I.
and somehow I jumped like 12 spots. So I'm considering just not putting in a fantasy team for the rest of the season and see how I go.
Yeah, I have to put all of my love and thanks onto Dongerlord, because I have him in my team, because I love having the Adelaide boys in there. And 423 points, top scorer for the fantasy league this round. Good
job. Yeah, no, that's definitely some good. That's a massive amount of points too. Normally you see him sitting around like the good players, like mid 300 sort of thing, but to break 400, that's a huge game right there for him. So congratulations to Dongerlord. But then of course we got next week's matches. So it's going to be a cracker game first up here, the Panthers versus the Action X. And I apologize in advance, Natty, for your loss coming this Friday. Yeah.
I see how it is.
Yeah.
You just watch Dongerlord's going to pull it out again.
That's it. That's it. JS will be coming home. It's okay. We got this. But yeah, no, it really is going to be a top-notch game. And be interesting to see after Dongerlord was talking about the new takes with the AMX M454 that he seems to be a bit of a fan of there. Bit of, like you were saying, a good mid-range tank with the new patch that kind of like fills a gap between the light tanks like the T100 LT and some of the like the Super Conk and whatnot. So if it's got some good damage and got a reasonably good speed, yeah, we'll see how it goes. I'm keen. I can't wait to see it. And then we've got the North Sydney Sentinels coming up against the Comets. So this one, look, after the Comets took the tiebreaker win in the first week, I was very excited. They've had a couple of rough weeks so far with like the second week they only were able to field 4 players, which is always going to be a hard thing when you're already a tank behind. And last week, obviously, with the 3-1 loss as well. So seeing how they'll perform against the Sentinels, it's either going to go one or two ways, I reckon. The Sentinels will just either blow them out of the water, or the Sentinels will be too relaxed and the Comets will take advantage of that. And they'll bring out some really insane, inventive strat that will just go catch them with their pants down.
I mean, you're assuming that the Comets are preparing for a hard fight. I think they're going to pull something out that's going to make us excited to watch.
Well, fingers crossed. Like, just to be competitive, at least to have some good plans there. But yeah, like I said, I've liked seeing the Comet strats, but the Sentinels, they have strats upon strats upon strats. So it's no doubt going to be a hard fight for them. But fingers crossed they can pull something out there. And then the last match of the night, I've just realised the screenshot says Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time, but I don't think Daylight Savings has started yet. I think that's first week of October, I think. I don't know.
Oh, I'm not sure.
As I say, we don't do daylight savings here in the West, so I've got no idea when it changes.
No, I should know because it impacts me, but we haven't had the swap over yet.
Yeah.
Just when it is, I don't know.
I'm reasonably sure it usually happens around the beginning of October, so I don't think this week is in daylight savings yet for the East Coast. But yes, in the last game of the night, the Scorpions taking on the Matildas, which will also, I don't know, Matildas will be looking to jump back. They haven't won a game yet. They've got that tiebreaker loss, so they've got a point on the board at least. But yeah, they'll be looking to get that win there against the Scorpions. So we'll see how they come across for that one. It will be interesting.
Yes, I think after the the skirmish that they had with Adelaide as well, that Sydney might have their confidence rocked a little bit. Or was that the Sentinels you were saying?
Yeah, Adelaide beat the Sentinels.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Scorpions are coming off a loss as well. They had 2 straight wins and then the loss against the Sentinels. So yeah, and with how tight it is at the top, like, all these teams will be seeking to solidify their position up top as well. So, but yeah, definitely looking forward to the Panthers Action X game because that should be a banger.
Awesome. I agree.
Cool. So let's talk about LCO. I know the split's over. I know Chiefs won. They only dropped 1 game in the entire series, which is an incredible feat.
Insane.
I know.
It's just insane.
But I want to talk about some other stuff here because we've got some viewing numbers for the LCO. And looking at it, average viewers for the stream sort of peaked around the 5,000 mark. But absolute peak viewers were obviously happened in the grand final that was at DreamHack. And that was almost 18,000 viewers, concurrent viewers. That is a huge amount.
That is really incredible.
Especially
considering that's on top of the crowd that would have been in
attendance. Yeah, and I think I saw there was, obviously not at this one game, but I think I saw somewhere the DreamHack had something like 21,000 people over the weekend, which is a really great amount of people coming through there. But from the stats, I quite like as well the second most watched game was the Friday night final at DreamHack between Order and PGG. And the difference between them was only a couple of hundred viewers. Like,
oh, wow.
Yeah, so the grand final had 17,894 and the playoffs with Order and PGG were 17,500. So, look, I think like there's something to be said for finals. Like, they're always going to bring out more viewers, but I think the fact that these were live as well, people wanted to tune in. They wanted to see what was going on the live stage, and like I'm super excited. I cannot wait to see a LAN event. I'm very excited that I'm going to get an opportunity shortly, but that's a little bit later in the show that we're going to talk about because we're talking about League of Legends now. So let's keep sort of a semi-natural flow going. And
I did want to quickly say on this, I like that it was consistent across the 2 finals games because it kind of speaks more to people being fans of the game and not following just because of the teams that are involved, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, what you see it when there's not a Victorian team in the AFL finals, that it does, impact things.
Or like there's no Western Australian team in it, so nobody in WA cares about the AFL finals anymore. Yeah. I do like that, and I would like to see some more stats about like where because there's another playoff game between Direwolves and Kanga, that also featured up there, but they're fourth place for the viewing with just with 9.2 thousand viewers was a week 2 game between Direwolves and Kanga.
Oh, wow.
So that's very interesting.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting to see coming into Split 1 next year, because I think this is something that I don't think we've mentioned yet, but Gravitas is not returning to the LCO lineup, and instead Team Bliss has taken over that spot. So a new team, be interesting to see what they've got. Especially they'll have unfortunately have a bit of pick of players with Order as well, also not returning. So that's
yeah, it will be interesting to see if they can manage to pick up just the team straight out, or if there'll be some negotiating there.
Yeah, and I should say, like I've said that Order isn't returning, but I think that's probably I should rephrase that as a might not be returning, because I've seen a few posts from some of the team searching for other opportunities, which is fair enough. Like they want some stability as well, and unfortunately Order doesn't have that stability, being in voluntary administration right now.
It's so many balls in the air, because we don't know. We're assuming Order isn't fielding a team again, so not only are Gravitas being replaced by Bliss, but potentially there'll be another new team in the league as well next season. So it's hopefully going to mix things up a bit, which will be exciting.
Well, I just hope that they're competitive. Like Kanga was the surprise card in this split. And I loved seeing them play, because they just improved and improved and improved, and to the point where they made they took Peace out of playoffs. You know, this is they went to Worlds last year. I was going to say they went to MSI early this year, but that was Order that went to MSI. But yeah, like this is a world-class team that has competed on an international stage, and yeah, they stopped them from getting into finals. Yeah. But speaking of Worlds, though, we have some results about what group Chiefs are going to be in at at Worlds starting very, very soon, 29th of September. That's what date is it? That's a couple of weeks away. So it's very exciting. And what's more exciting about it is it's a challenging group, but it's a very makeable group. Makeable out of group. That's not really a phrase, but it's there is a world where Chiefs can get out of the play-in stage.
Yeah, absolutely. We were having a quick look at the teams, because even we weren't familiar with all of them, just because some of them are from smaller regions. So it does make it really interesting and competitive. I really, really like that we're in the same group as Brazil again. I'm hoping for some spicy socials again over the play-ins.
They need to get Winston in to do some socials, because he built such a good rapport with the Brazilian fans from when PGG went to MSI last year. But yeah, look, it's still a hard group. Like, you've got Fnatic and Evil Geniuses in there that are always going to be tough to beat. But like there's a lot of other sort of smaller regions in there, like Beyond Gaming from Taiwan and Loud from Brazil. It's like with the run that the Chiefs had and how good they are, there's every chance of them making it out of the play-in stages. Yeah,
definitely, and it's just exciting, even having that glimmer of hope, and it's not due to the fact that we've got one less team in our group, which has happened and has been our glimmer of hope of recent international events. So it is nice to have that competitive opportunity there.
Yep. So for those that don't know the Worlds format, because Worlds is different to MSI, there's a bunch of teams that have already qualified for group stages, like Damwon Gaming, Cloud9, G2, 100 Thieves, Rogue.
Yeah, go Fudge! Woo! Sorry.
I would cheer for Fudge as well if I wasn't cheering for Chiefs right now. But
they're not in the same group, we can cheer for Cloud9.
Not yet. Yeah. So there are two groups for the play-ins, Group A and Group B. The team that finishes on top gets entry into the group stages with those other teams that are already there. Then the middle four, well, I think the middle four from each group play off to find out who will fill the other spots. So the bottom two in each group will unfortunately go out the back door, and then there'll be their playoffs to work out who will fill the other two group spots. And then from there, I think it's the top two from each of those groups in the group stages will go through to quarterfinals and like that normal bracket for quarterfinals, semifinals, and a grand final. So going to be definitely interesting keeping an eye out on it. And like, I'm happy you mentioned Fudge there because we were talking before, and I think you and I saw the same tweet that said there are more OCE players at Worlds than there are NA players.
Yeah, which was a really interesting statement to kind of unpick, because at first I was just like, no, surely that's not right, because the Chiefs team does have 2 imports. And I was like, hang on, that means we've only got 3 players. How do we have more than NA? Yeah. But we've got Fudge, which bumps up our numbers and then makes us more than the North American teams, which is cool.
Yeah, which is interesting. Like, I know there's at least one North American team. I don't know how many other NA teams. I'm going to assume there's at least one other NA team. But the fact that our 4 OCE players beats their NA players is a little bit staggering to me.
Well, we're just that good.
Yeah.
Aussie expats are the best.
Yeah, that's it. And New Zealand, of course. Although I don't know if there's any New Zealand players in there. But yes, we got to remember our New Zealand brethren for the OCE love there.
Yeah. For anybody that enjoys following a good story, the Score Esports at the moment have a video up about Rogue qualifying. So it's the first time I think they've qualified for Worlds. And their top laner has been competing in competitive LoL since 2013.
Oh, wow.
And it's his first Worlds and the first time that he's been with a team that's won the EU region. So it's a bit of a Cinderella story for him to be able to get to Worlds, which is really cool.
Yeah. Just quietly, that sort of storyline reminds me of what was it? There was that league show. I only just watched it recently.
Players.
Yeah, Players. And like there's what's his name?
Cream cheese.
Cream cheese. Cream cheese. Or not the other. I can remember the other one, but I didn't want to say that one. But no, I remember I just going because he took so long to get to an international competition, and I'm just thinking, wow, this is a real life story of that. So
yeah,
that's
just for
amazing.
Anybody who's not sure what we're talking about, there's a mockumentary on HBO called Players, and it's if following a fake team in North America that plays League of Legends, and it's all about their trials and tribulations following, a local homegrown team that makes it through the ranks and ends up competing. But all the trials and tribulations you see regular teams go through, but they packed it into one tight knit story with characters that by the end I really cared about.
Yeah,
I really, really cared about them.
Yeah, no, it's a very good show. You should watch it if you like. I don't know, like even after a couple of years watching, I don't know League super in depth, but I'm just sitting here watching it and going, I love this. It's such a good show.
It is Paramount Plus. Sorry, excuse me.
Paramount Plus. But it's still really good. Everybody should go watch it. But the next item on our list here is, and we alluded to it earlier with LAN events, but as some of you might know, Goa is going to PAX. There's going to be a nice contingent of us there, myself and Natty both included. I'm excited. My tickets came in the mail yesterday, so
that's cool.
I've got my badge. Like I'm not going to show you the back of it because it's got my address on the front, but
yeah.
But yeah, so the nondescript envelope that might have anything in it. But yeah, so like my tickets came for PAX, and we're just really excited because there is going to be a Rocket League event happening there.
Yeah, so ESL, who have a strong history of supporting esports in Oceania and running lots of events, are hosting the Rocket League Grand Slam. at the PAX Arena. So they're promising 3 days of excitement and action-packed fun for everyone. And they're doing a lot of cool things alongside of it as well. So they've got a competition running with that as well. Sorry, I'm just going to quickly bring up the details because I lost it in my many screens, not as many as your 5 screens, but my many screens. So it is the Quantum Grand Slam, and it's supported by JBL Quantum. So they've got a $10,000 cash prize, but also anybody that wants to enter, they can. There's a $50,000 JBL products prize up for grab. So huge.
That's it, open and closed qualifiers. So anybody, get your Rocket League team together at PAX, go dominate.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just honestly so excited. When I applied for my media pass, I always say I do the podcast with you, but this is the first time that we're going to an in-person event, and it's actually going to be esports, which is cool.
I was not going to lie, I was gutted when I did the sums and couldn't get the DreamHack. But this is just, I'm so looking for, and just the PAX weekend in general, like I'm so pumped for. But I'm so glad I'm getting there a couple of days beforehand, and I've got a couple of days after, because, oh my God, there's just so much on.
Yeah, it's huge, absolutely huge. I normally completely nerd out and go into all the panels and listen to all the experts, but now I've got esports running alongside of it. I'm going to be so torn.
But definitely looking forward to that, and can't wait to see the ESL JBL Quantum Grand Slam happening there. Unfortunately, I don't think you can get tickets anymore, because to get tickets you would need tickets to PAX, but I'm sure they'll be streaming it somewhere. It'll be somewhere.
Yeah, I think they've still got single passes available for the Friday and the Sunday. Just the 3-day passes are all sold out, and I think they might have sold out of the Saturday ones as well. But still, I think the finals are on the Sunday.
Well, from the website that we've got for this announcement, it says the main event is on Saturday, 4-team double elimination. So I don't think there's anything on the Sunday. It's either Friday or Saturday to see the action for this Rocket League event. Cool. But moving on, there was an interesting article you brought up, Natty, about something that happened in Valorant.
Yeah, so the Valorant Champions 2022 event is on at the moment, and so it's, the best teams around the world competing against each other. We saw something really interesting happen in one of the lower bracket matchups that happened yesterday. So for anybody familiar with Valorant, there is a character you can play called Killjoy who sets up a turret. So, you Torbjorn, oh man, my brain was going back to Team Fortress, but that's probably too old a reference now. And there's a known bug where the turret will shoot in the wrong direction. So what happened was there was a player by the turret, and the turret went off, so the player faced in that direction and then was shot by somebody coming from behind them because the player was distracted looking in the wrong direction. So there was a bit of debate and a bit of discussion, but Riot ended up making the decision to replay the matchup, which led to the team that won originally winning anyway, but it went to 30 rounds of action before that was decided, which is just, a huge amount of rounds.
Yeah, look, this is an interesting case because that's a major bug. And like, if you set up a turret and it's supposed to point at your enemy and it points in one direction, that's the direction you're going to face. And the fact that it didn't, like, that gives the team with the turret a severe disadvantage. So I kind of like that Riot made the decision to replay the round. But looking at the story and seeing some social media behind it, the poor team, Xset, is copping so much flack for it. And they've had to come out and say, oh, we didn't request this. We were sitting out the back, with our feet up, having a beer after the game. By the time they'd come in and said, "Oh, we're going to get you to replay it," and yeah, I think it's a good thing that they did replay it. I think that it's a serious enough bug that it deserved to be replayed. And yeah, I like that they did it.
Yeah. I find it really interesting. I completely agree with the discourse afterwards because the exit, some of their leaders have been saying, we didn't ask for it. We weren't, crying over the loss. We recognise that it's a known bug and, we just fell victim to it kind of mentality. But I think you and I are on the same page. Like, if you can replay it, why wouldn't you? But I think that delay before they decided to replay, was a bit frustrating for some people, and the fact that it resulted in the same outcome anyway maybe is something that people are looking at as well and going, well, what was the point?
But it went to 30 rounds though, like that. It gave
exactly.
Exit such a chance to come back. And look, I'm just thinking it's not the same. It's definitely not the same as someone cheating because there was no ill intent here. It was just a bug. It just happened. But if something like that happened in a game, like I played in a hockey grand final on the weekend, which we lost, which I'm gutted about, but that's not esports. But if something happened in that game and I don't know, there was an incorrect decision or one of the opposition players, like, yeah, if there was just an incorrect decision, really, we'll stick with that one because that's probably more comparable. But I don't know. I would like the opportunity to replay it, and you don't get that chance a lot of times. And it's great. I think that Riot took that action, and I think it's a fair action.
Yeah, no, I think we're on the same page. Like absolutely, support fair competition where you can, and replay seemed like the fairest option. But me very cheekily saying, not understanding anything about computer programming and knowing full well it's not that easy. Why haven't they fixed the bug yet? It's a known bug. But yes, I understand it's not that easy.
The only thing about it I might say is that if it is a known bug and it's that serious a bug in a tournament of this scale, Riot, I think, should have had rules already set in place, so there wasn't that delay. So if this happens, replay it. It's because it's not a small bug. It's not like, oh, I clipped a little bit into a wall. It's I'm looking the wrong direction because something in the game is telling me to look in the other direction.
That's a really good thought. Like, if you know that it's going to be an issue, have a rule in place, so if it does happen, everybody knows what the expectation is. That makes perfect sense to me. I love that. But 10 out of 10, get Jim to run tournaments.
Oh, please don't. No. Look, I don't know. It also depends on how common the bug is. Like, given that we haven't really encountered it so much in competitive play, I don't think it's that big a bug. And
well, you assume it's not that often because they wouldn't be playing that character if it was.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like you just avoid that character. So I just thought that was really interesting, and just the post discussion about it as well. But the event's still continuing on. So if anybody who's keen to catch some good Valorant action, that's still happening. The Valorant Champions event's still happening at the moment.
It's awesome. Still lots of esports going on, even with, like, we're sort of moving more into the international events now because this is when the time of year that they start to all come together. Like at DreamHack just gone, we got a qualifier for the HCS, which is the Halo competition for that international major in North America. There's lots of great competitions that are going to come up internationally, and cannot wait to see all our OCE teams. Cannot wait to see more of the domestic competitions that are going on as well. World of Tanks, ANZPL, ANZPL is still going on Friday from 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And in a couple of weeks, the B League will be starting up as well. So 2 doses of tanks every week. It's going to be great. Cannot wait to see those results. And But thanks again for joining us, Natty. Great to have you back after a couple of weeks off.
Yeah, it's very good to be back. Thanks for having me, as always. Straight.
That's it. Anytime, you're always welcome. In fact, I might just hand it off. You know more about esports than me. You can go and do.
No, we make a good pair.
We do. We got a good cross section here. So
yeah.
I love our Wednesdays recording and showing on Thursdays. So cannot wait, and we will see everybody else next week.